again, my little yarnivores and spiderettes. Fiber Spider back again with another tutorial just for you. And today we're going to be doing a crocodile stitch blanket, but with a bit of a difference. Now, all the other blankets that I've seen have gone in rows, back and forth and back and forth, and that's really cool. But I thought, how can I tweak this a little bit? Now, recently I did a video on a crocodile stitch hat that worked from the top of the crown and worked its way down. Now, based on that, I figured out how to do a square center out blanket, and I'm really quite pleased with the results. Um, it used, I will say this now, it used a lot of yarn. It did. But, and I was asked, now, why would you want to make something, a project that uses up so much yarn? And I said, well, why do people climb mountains? Because we can. That's why. Now, I was using Red Heart Super Saver, and this is the colorway of Orchid, and I found the jumbo skeins, and I had to go into a fourth skein. Yes, I had to go into a fourth skein, and my project ended up being about, I want to say, 38 inches square, roughly speaking, and that's with the border, which, of course, I'm going to show you how to do as well. And yeah, so it took a lot of yarn, and it's thick and it's squishy and it's absolutely lovely. But yes, it does take a lot of yarn. Now, each of those skeins is over 700 yards times 4. Yeah, it takes a lot of yarn. So be forewarned about that. But the results are so worth it. Now, as far as yardage is concerned, what I would strongly recommend, okay, is because I get a lot of questions about yardage, what I would strongly recommend is use a yarn like this, because Red Heart with the solid colors, there's no dye lot, so you don't have to worry about running out. You can always get more. Also, it's relatively inexpensive compared to some other yarns. By the way, this is not sponsored. This is just sort of a personal tip slash disclaimer on what I think would be best. If you want to use a thinner weight of yarn, that's totally cool, but just be sure to buy a ton of it. Now, also, I used a size J 6mm hook. You can, of course, use whatever works for you, just as long as it works for you. And also, what I would recommend, these aren't necessary, but I would recommend perhaps getting some closable, openable stitch markers. I'm just dropping stuff here. Or some scraps of yarn to mark the corners of your project. It'll make it a little bit easier, at least initially, until the project gets to a certain point. You'll see what I mean as we go on. All right, so that being said, let's get to it. Alrighty, round 1. Now, with the crocodile stitch, you have foundation rows and then you have scale rows. And so right now we're going to be creating a foundation round. And so start with a slip knot and then chain up a total of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then slip stitch into the first chain to create a ring. Now this is going to be very similar to what we did as far as the top-down crocodile stitch hat, but with some slight differences. You'll see them later. So if you did get a chance to check out that tutorial, this will make a lot more sense. All right, now, so from here, going to chain up 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And this is going to act as a double crochet and a chain 1 space. Now we need a total of 16 double crochets all the way around, and let's get to it. So we've got 1 and 2, chain 1, 3, chain 1, 4, chain 1, 5, chain 1, 6, chain 1, 7, chain 1, 8, chain 1, 9, chain 1, 10, chain 1, 11, chain 1, 12, chain 1, 13, chain 1, 14, chain 1, 15, chain 1, and 16. Okay, and of course I'm going to double count. So we've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, and 16. Perfect. Okay, then to finish up round 1, just need to chain 1, and then slip stitch into the third chain from the bottom, or the second from the top. Just slip stitch. And there you go. Ta-da! And that is the end of round 1. Okay, round 2 is now going to be a scale round. Okay, so we left off with our slip stitch. Just need to slip stitch into the chain space here. Slip stitch, and then chain up 1. Okay. Now, we're going to be doing our first scale going down the post of this double crochet and then up the next one. Okay, so going to grab, like I said, this post right here, grab the post, and then going around the post, we're going to do 5 double crochets. Let me do that again for you. So it's not this first one that we just joined into, it's that next one over. This one right here, we're going to be working around the post, 5 double crochets, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Chain 1, and then we're going to work back up the next double crochet over. Okay, so grabbing that post, that double crochet, going around the post with 5 doubles. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, now going to lock this scale down. So this is the one that we just worked around into this next space right here, because we have a double here and a double here into this space here. Do a slip stitch. And that's going to lock down the scale so it's not going all flippy floppy. And that is our first scale. Okay, and we need a total of 4 of these. Now it is going to look kind of cramped, but it will work out overall. Okay, so let's keep going. Okay, so for the second scale, best way to keep track of where you're at is, now we went around this post, and then we slipped a stitch in between. Now, this one and this one, they are out of bounds. So we need to make the scale around the next two. So yarn over, and we're going to work around this post right here. So grab the post from the other side, pinch it, and we're going to work again around the post with 5 doubles. You know, I can do that a little bit cleaner. Sorry. Grabbing the post, 5 doubles, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, chain 1, and then around the next post, we're going to work our way back up. So, grabbing the post, going around with 5 doubles. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, and again, into this next space right here. We worked into this stitch, skipping this double, going into that space with a slip stitch to lock it in. There we go. So now this one and this one are out of bounds, and then this one and this one are going to be the next scale. So I'm going to pinch it from the other side and do our 5 doubles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, chain 1, grabbing the next double crochet, because we worked on this one, next one over, 5 more doubles, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now we have to lock it into place. So skipping this double, going into the space in between with a slip stitch. Shaboom. And as you can see, we now have 3 scales. Okay, one more to go. So again, this one and this one are out of bounds. So we're going to grab this one from the other side and do 5 doubles. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, chain 1, grabbing the next double crochet and do 5 doubles around it. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, last but not least for this round, we need to lock it into place. Now, right here is where we would do our next slip stitch under normal circumstances, but it's also the beginning of our first scale. So going to go through here and then underneath and then pop right through, right there, and do a slip stitch right there. Ta-da! Okay. And that is the end of round 2. So your front-facing side should look like this, sort of like a closed flower. And the back side, yeah, it looks kind of funky, but trust me, it works. All right, let's proceed on to round 3. Okay, round 3. Now, round 3, again, every other round is going to be a foundation round. And so we're going to start by chaining up 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And again, that's going to count as a double crochet and a chain 1 space. So in between here, in between our 2 scales, work another double crochet, and that is going to be our first foundation right there. Okay, so we've got a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. Now, ultimately, this is going to be a corner, as are all of these 4 petals. They're going to be corners. And at each corner, we need to do an increase. So we're going to be increasing across the board for this round. So to do your increase, basically, we're going to be doing a foundation underneath this double crochet into this chain 1 space and underneath this double crochet here. And basically, it's working underneath the bar of the double crochet underneath the post. It works easiest, I find. So double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, and then into the chain space, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, and then underneath the bar of this double crochet. It can be a little bit fiddly, a little bit tricky perhaps, but it is worth it in the end. Double, chain 1, double. Okay, then in between our scales, do another foundation. Oddly enough, this is actually going to be the side of the blanket. Okay, so in between our scales, do another foundation. So double, chain 1, and double. And then again, around the post, in the chain space, and around the post. So around the post with a double, chain 1, double, and then into the chain space, double, chain 1, double, and around the post, double, chain 1, double. Okay, and then again, in between the scales, in that space right there, double, chain 1, double, around the post, double, chain 1, double, in the chain space, double, chain 1, double, around the post, double, chain 1, double, in between the scales, double, chain one, double, and we've got one more scale to go. So around the post, double, chain one, double, in the chain space, double, chain one, double, and then around the post once more. Double, chain one, double. Okay, then to finish up round 3, slip stitch into the top third chain. There we go. And slip stitch. Now you're probably thinking to yourself right now, yeah, this looks like a circle. Well, yeah, right now it does. However, what we're going to be doing is, since we just did our increase, we're going to be branching this out and this out and this out and this out. These are going to be our 4 corners. Now, you're probably thinking, well, but no, it looks like these are the 4 corners. Actually, no, it does work like this, believe it or not. It will make a lot more sense with each successive round. And it does look a little bit cluttered at the moment, but again, it will make more sense as we keep going. So let's keep going. Alrighty. All right, round 4. Okay, now before we go any further, what you could do is, like I said, as far as marking where the corners actually are. So if you look, we have, this is one of the scales, and then directly above it, we have a foundation. What you could do, which is what I'm going to do, is I'm going to take my marker and pop it in right there, right in the middle of the foundation, going directly above that scale. And that's going to mark where one of our corners is. Is this entirely necessary? No. And I didn't do it when I was making my blanket, but as a visual aid, I'm going to do this right now. So perhaps it might help. There we go. And then one more. Perhaps give you a sense of perspective. And hopefully I won't get tangled in the process. All right, so just the foundation directly above from the scale that we made. Okay, so let us proceed with round 4. Now, last thing that we did on round 3 was we did our slip stitch. Well, we need to scoot over just a little bit. So do a slip stitch into the chain 1 space, slip stitch into the next 2 doubles, and you're going to do this at the beginning of every other round. And then slip stitch into that chain space. So it's a couple of slip stitches, and then we are exactly where we need to be because we're going to want to make our first scale in between these 2 scales here, which means we need to work in this foundation here, okay? So going to chain up 1. That gives us just a little bit of height, and we're going to be working into these two double crochets around those posts in between our scales, okay? So going to grab our first double crochet and work around the post with 5 doubles, There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Chain 1, and then grab the next double crochet post. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then locking it into place into this next chain space right over here, slip stitch. Ta-da! And let me just show you what we did. So we created our new scale in between our corner scales. So this is going to be a side scale, one of the sides of the blankets. And like I said, this is going to be a corner and this is going to be a corner. I'm just trying to clarify things because I know it's a little bit confusing at first, but you'll get the hang of it. Just keep at it. All right, so let us do our first official corner. Okay, so going to work around this post and this post, because again, this one and this one are out of bounds. So going around this post, grab it, 5 doubles, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, chain 1, going around the next post, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, locking it into place in this next chain space right here with a slip stitch. Okay, go on to the next one. Okay, so it's going to be this double and this double. So grab it from the other side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, chain 1, going around the next post, 1, 2, 3. Sorry, grab some more yarn. That's 4 and 5. Okay, got to lock it into place into this chain space right here. Okay, so let's see where we're at. Okay, so we have one of our corners here. Now, the thing about this particular blanket is that the corners, all of the scales line up with each other. Okay, now, yeah, that might seem a little bit weird, but again, as it builds out, it will be sort of in 4 quadrants, each going in different directions towards the center. Okay, so we've got our 3 scales and we need just a bunch more. So let's keep going. All right, so moving right along, footloose and fancy free. All right, so we did our slip stitch, and now we need to work on either side of the stitch marker, this double and this double. So going to grab the post and do 5 doubles. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Chain 1. There we go. And then 5 up the other post. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, into this next chain space right here, slip stitch. Okay, and because when we have a slip stitch, this one and this one are out of bounds, so it's this one and this one that we're going to be working into. That's going to be the side stitch. So these two are out of bounds, so grab this one from the other side, pinch it, 5 doubles. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Chain 1, grab the next double crochet, like so. 5 doubles. 1, 2, 3, 4, and my yarn wants to knot up on me. There we go. So I've got 4 and 5. Okay, need to anchor this one down into the next chain space. So anchor it down with a slip stitch, and then we've reached another of our corners. So again, pinch it, then 5 doubles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, chain 1, and then grabbing the next one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Lock it into place in the next chain space with a slip stitch. Okay. So this one and this one are out of bounds, so it's this one and this one. So grab it, pinch it, 5 doubles. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, chain 1, grab the next double crochet, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and we're almost there. Okay, so next chain space, lock it into place with a slip stitch. We've got one more scale to do. So again, going down this one and up this one. So grab it, pinch it, 2, 3, 4, 5, chain 1, grab the next double post, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, then last but not least, slip stitch, join at the base of this first scale that we did. So going through underneath into the base of that scale with a slip stitch. Ta-dum! All right, so now, in case you hadn't noticed, we went from 4 scales to 8 scales. And that's exactly what we want, because when we had our initial 4 scales, each one was increased, right? So you end up going from 4 to 8. Now, on the next round, where we're going to be doing our foundations again, we're only going to be increasing at the corners, hence why I wanted to put these little markers down. We're not going to be increasing on every scale. See, this is going to be a side, and this is going to be a side, and so on and so forth. That way, it creates a square shape. Otherwise, it would keep blossoming and burgeoning outwards at a rather exponential rate, which is not exactly what we want at this moment. No. You could try and experiment by all means, but that's not what we're going for in this particular project. So, that being said, let us continue with round 5. Okay, round 5, again, foundation round, and we're only going to be increasing where we have our markers at the corners. So, first things first, going to chain up 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, turn the work, and into that space in between our scales right here, going to do a double crochet for our first foundation. Okay. Now, because this is a corner, because we have our little marker there, and if you don't use the markers, a great way of being able to tell where is my corner, again, it is where the scales are aligned with each other. See right here, he's on his own. There's no alignment. It's in between. So that's a side. This is a corner, in case if you get lost. So, but because this is a corner, we need to increase. And to increase, again, we're going to be working around the post, in the middle, around the post. So let's go around the post. So around that post with a double, chain 1, double, and then around the chain space, double, chain 1. I can sort of scoot that to the side there. Double. Okay, and then around the post, with a double, chain 1, double. Okay, then going to go in between our 2 scales here, in between with a double, chain 1, double. You always work in between the scales, always, always. As far as the increasing where you're working around the posts, that's only at the corners, okay? Then going directly from in between the scales, don't go around the post here and here, just into the chain space in the middle with a double, chain 1, double, and then in between the scales over here, double, chain 1, double. There we are. See, we didn't go around this bar and this bar again because that's a side. All right. So, but we have another corner here. So let's increase, going around the post, if it will let me. There we go. Around the post, double, chain 1, double, into the chain space, double, chain 1, double, and around the post. Double, chain 1, double, in between, double, chain 1, double, skipping to the middle of the scale because this is one of our sides, double, chain 1, double, in between the scales again. Come on. Double, chain 1, double, another corner, go around the post. Sometimes if you sort of try to grab it and work with it. First one's always the trickiest, but it gets easier when you're trying to do the second one. So that's a double, chain 1, and a double. Into the center, chain 1 space, double, chain 1, double, and then around the post, double, chain 1, double, in between the scales, double, chain 1, double, okay, into the middle of the side scale, double, chain 1, double, in between the scales, double, chain 1, double, okay, round the post, double, chain 1, double, in the chain space, double, chain 1, double, around the post, double, chain 1, double, in between the scales, double, chain 1, double, and last but not least, our last side scale in the middle in that chain space, double, chain 1, double, and we have reached the end because we started in between our scales with this first one. So just need to slip stitch into the third chain from the bottom, like so. Ta-da! Okay, and that is the end of round 5. Now at this point, what you could do which is what I'm going to do, is I'm going to move my markers up so that it'll be easier on the following round. And again, just like Toucan Sam, follow your nose. Just go straight up into the foundation, following the alignment of our corner scales, okay? And I'm going to do the rest of those in a bit. But listen, everybody, that concludes part 1 of the crocodile stitch blanket from the center out. Oh, so exciting. And I'm really, really loving this. Makes me think of such a beautiful flower, like a, not an orchid, a lotus. Yes, like a lotus. Absolutely love it. So, if you are enjoying this tutorial so far, please give a little thumbs up to show your appreciation, because I appreciate your appreciation ever so much. Thank you. Thank you for watching today, and I hope you're all doing well. And also, do check out my other YouTube channel, Fiber Spider Games, for video game playthrough and commentary. A lot of fun. Would love to see you there. And do stay tuned, because the next part of this tutorial will be out promptly, and I hope you all enjoy it. So, that being said, until next time, you know what to do. Stay inspired, stay caffeinated, and stay stitching. And above all, stay safe. Take care of yourselves and each other, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye for now, everybody.